The armed forces of Ukraine have liberated the village of Sichneve in the Dnipropetrovsk region. This was reported by the 141st Separate Mechanized Brigade of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, which also posted footage of the successful assault on its Facebook page. According to the military, during the operation, 50 Russian occupiers were eliminated and another 8 were taken prisoner. The assault unit fighters carried out a step-by-step operation to liberate and clear the village. The video shows assault groups destroying Russian positions, while sappers clear the area.
Step by step, we are liberating our land. What you see in these shots isn't a movie. It's real combat work. This operation is proof that we are not standing still. We are not only holding the line, but also confidently moving forward, liberating our territories. From a statement by the 141st Separate Mechanized Brigade on Facebook.
The main Russian forces remain concentrated in the Pokrovsk direction. Just today, the enemy launched 25 assaults on Ukrainian positions, according to the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. And the soldiers in this sector add, the city has become one of the key defense hubs on the Eastern Front. The enemy is stepping up sabotage groups, but Ukrainian paratroopers are holding back Russian attempts to break through the Pokrovsk defenses. Drones from our side, from their side. The fighting is happening both on the ground and in the air. The enemy is putting pressure on us. We're doing everything we can to fight back. Right now, it's a stalemate. We're using all our resources to hold back the Russians. They're doing the same to try to break through. At the moment, the front is static. We're holding on. One of the Russians' objectives, according to analysts, is to stretch Ukrainian forces along the front line and weaken the defense. To do this, in particular, they're trying to infiltrate the rear of the defense forces in the Novopavlivka direction with small groups. Russian generals also haven't given up on plans to advance in the Lyman and Siversk directions, experts say.
There's also a threat from the northeast to our defensive lines, which are being formed in Sloviansk, Kramatorsk, and further south near Druzhkivka. The defense of Kostiantynivka is already in a very difficult state. The enemy has been trying for quite a while to capture it, attacking from 3 sides.
Meanwhile, Russian military losses continue to grow. In the past 24 hours alone, the defense forces have eliminated 1,020 Russian servicemen. The total losses of the Russian army have now exceeded 1,117,000 personnel. This was reported by the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. According to Ukrainian military reports, in the past day, 3 Russian tanks, 6 armored vehicles, 29 artillery systems, 1 air defense system, and 79 units of enemy automotive equipment were destroyed.
And now joining our broadcast is Andreas Umland, a German political scientist and analyst at the Stockholm Center for Eastern European Studies. Good evening. We are glad to welcome you live on Freedom TV channel.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Andreas, what is your take on the reports that this threat, which was once only a possibility, is now taking on increasingly clear outlines? After all, this practice of false flag provocations is quite well known when carried out by Russia, or, to put it bluntly, the terrorist federation. In your opinion, how real is this threat in today's circumstances?
It's hard to say, because the Kremlin may have different calculations. There really could be a strategy known as escalation for de-escalation to create some new point of tension in Estonia, Lithuania, or somewhere else, and thus bargain for something, say, in the Russian-Ukrainian war. There could also be a strategy simply to distract attention. With all these actions, with drones, with other lethal devices, like fighter jets and so on, the goal could be to distract attention and possibly also resources from the Russian-Ukrainian war. I think all of this, in the end, is more about Russia's war against Ukraine than about the start of some new large-scale war. Who knows? It's hard to say right now. If you look at it rationally, from a rational point of view, escalation between Russia and NATO would actually be in Ukraine's interest because it would widen the front and work in Ukraine's favor. But in Moscow, they might have different calculations or even some irrational strategies.
Well, actually, let's talk more about the Kremlin's calculations now. In Moscow, they're discussing a plan to attack NATO. This was stated by the European Union's Defense Commissioner, Andreas Umland, citing German intelligence data. The EU Commissioner did not rule out that Russia may indeed be preparing for war.
Anything is possible. Escalation could really happen. With NATO even earlier, although, as I already said, it seems to me that for now, it's still a war between Russia and Ukraine. It's not rational yet. It could be. It could become rational if there is a truce between Ukraine and Russia. Then the question will be what to do with all these troops and with this military industry, and how to keep society from exploding after peace is achieved. Yes, and then. Indeed, such a war could happen. And again, there's also an irrational element here. For example, it's worth remembering how Germany and the United States became enemies during World War II. Few people recall, maybe sometimes, that in the winter of 1941, it was Germany that declared war on the United States, not the United States on Germany, after Pearl Harbor. Even though, from Germany's point of view, it was of course irrational to declare war on the United States, but there was no rationality in it. And something like that could happen in the Kremlin too, where they might go all in and actually start a war with NATO. Although, as I already said, for now the current situation is still the Russia-Ukraine war. I think that would be more in Ukraine's interest than Russia's.
Let's discuss another statement that, as they say, has caused more than enough noise in recent days. Estonia's Foreign Minister Margus Tsahkna responded to the provocative statements made by former German Chancellor Merkel, who placed the blame on Poland and the Baltic states for Russia's aggression against Ukraine. Tsahkna emphasized that not only is this inappropriate, but it's simply wrong, and the real reason is different. It's actually Putin's unwillingness to accept the collapse of the USSR, as well as the West's past policy of appeasement and ignoring clear warning signs. What do you think? Who do you think is to blame in this situation, and who isn't? And why did Merkel suddenly make these statements? What do you think?
Well, first of all, I have to say that if you listen to that interview with Hungarian television, she didn't say it so directly. She talked about wanting to reformat the negotiations with Russia, to launch some new diplomatic initiative on behalf of the European Union. And at that time, this was in 2021, I think, Poland and the Baltic countries didn't agree with it. And so, this new diplomatic initiative of hers, it didn't happen. And there wasn't really any. Open accusation against Poland and the Baltic countries that they were to blame for the full-scale invasion that happened later. But nevertheless, of course, all these wordings are made to somehow justify the policy itself. Over all these years, there's this myth that, supposedly, through the Minsk agreements, she gave Ukraine a chance to prepare for a full-scale war by postponing the full-scale war, which could have started as early as 2014 or 2015. And in this way, Merkel sort of acted correctly at the time, and she continues this line, claiming that through her diplomacy she fundamentally changed something here and maybe could have even prevented a full-scale offensive. But all of this is just overly speculative rhetoric, and of course, It's unfortunate because she calls. Poland and the Baltic countries, claiming that they supposedly blocked some important diplomatic initiative.
Now, we have just about a minute left, so let's discuss this point. Bloomberg wrote that almost all of Europe is already facing an intensification of hybrid warfare from Russia, but they also noticed a Chinese connection in this matter. And of course, Beijing's interference is not as aggressive as, for example, Moscow's, but nevertheless, Chinese ships were involved in incidents of cable cutting in the Baltic Sea as well. So we literally have 30 seconds left. What do you think about Beijing's involvement in hybrid attacks?
I think this is probably beneficial for China, because this tension in Europe distracts attention from Taiwan and from the region surrounding China. And that's why I can definitely see some logic in this for China.
Andreas, thank you so much for finding the time to join us live today.
Subscribe to UATV English and stay updated on the most important events, top news from Ukraine and all over the world, in-depth analysis, exclusive reports and interviews, all on hand in our channel. Join our community of viewers and stay tuned.